LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two. Now listen. I don't know if it's caused by some kind of a midlife crisis. Maybe it's just long-lost OCD tendencies that are suddenly bubbling up from God knows where. But recently, I noticed that I will suddenly get a bug up my ass to clean something. I'm not talking about a little lemon pledge and calling it a day. I'm talking tearing apart bedroom drawers and closets, scanning everything in a box of old files and maniacally shredding them, or most recently, digitizing dozens of hours of home movies. I was the oldest child, and my parents didn't have a lot of money starting out, but they managed to get an 8mm movie camera and began to chronicle my growing up, starting with my first birthday. Every vacation, holiday, family visit meticulously spliced together onto 30-minute reels. The arrival of my sister and brother were also well documented. 20-some years later, however, when my folks' marriage hit the skids, the movies became less frequent, and my poor siblings ended up on the short end of the Biography Channel documentary stick. In high school, I saved up babysitting money to buy a Bell & Howell Super 8 movie camera and began shooting my own movies. By default, I became the keeper of the family films. And 50 years later, they lived in the deepest recesses of my closet in California. It had always been my intention of having them digitized, but when I saw a $5 off coupon at Costco, the trigger went off and I kicked into gear. 7 months and $1,000 later, I had all the scratched and in some cases falling apart footage finally in a digital state. I could now share them with my family, scattered across the country. I hadn't seen them myself for well over a decade, and so I started watching my life from the beginning. So many memories that I thought I had imagined were suddenly right there in full color. They were real. They had happened. It was kind of like my own little ghost of Christmas past. Seeing yourself documented from diapers to driving turned out to be moving in many unexpected ways. In one movie, I am 10 years old, and we are visiting my cousins in Kansas City, and we are at their country club pool. I climbed to the top of the high diving board in my little plaid polyester swimming suit with a metal buckle. I was a good swimmer, still am, but not the most skilled diver. Jumping off the high dive sounded like a good idea at the time, but there I stand, 10 feet above the water, walking out to the end. Suddenly I stop. I panic. I turn around. My very daring cousin Suzanne is right behind me at the top of the ladder. A line of kids wait behind her. As a middle-aged adult watching this, I freeze. Oh my God. I remember just how I felt up there on that diving board. I know that feeling because I've had it, like last week. Holy crap. Have I really been living this moment over and over in my life? Ye gods. I wrote and produced and starred in a short film called 13 Heads of Hair and got the idea to turn it into a musical. I've written a dozen songs and worked in diligent spurts over the years, and it's had a couple of readings. I have it to a place where I think it needs to get out into the world and see what happens. But I freeze. Wait, it's not good enough. What if people think it sucks? This was a terrible idea. Wait, I need to finish doing the website, spell check the script again, and listen to the song demos just one more time. Wait, I'll go for a walk first. In other words, here I am, standing there at the end of the diving board, now mid-50s, and am still terrified. In the home movie, little diving board Tony looks back. Suzanne is ready to run by him and leap into the abyss of the deep end. The kids waiting in line are getting ticked off. If I chicken out, that means that they will all have to back down the ladder, or I will have to squeeze by them, most likely falling 10 feet to my death on the concrete pool deck. Why am I over 5 decades into my life and still feel like this at times? Have I really learned that little? I have certainly overcome this feeling countless times in the past. I dove off the board at hundreds of auditions and callbacks. I dove off the board when I made the original short film 13 Heads of Hair, which got me through the awful commercial strike of 2000. But suddenly, I can't remember what the trick is to make that leap. My mind is a blank, and I feel crappy about it. Senior year of high school, I was so excited that I was finally going to be getting out of Iowa, but at the same time petrified at what the world would be like. It was paralyzing. But that year, I filled it with tons of creative projects. I did a couple of musicals at dinner theaters in Des Moines, including playing a very tan and preppy Fiedka in Fiddler on the Roof. I played Harold Hill that year in high school. I even kicked up my own movie making and play producing in my garage that year. My friend Tony and I did an original comedy review called Urbandale Gigolos Live. As a last hurrah before going off to college, I produced what would be our final show in the garage, Neil Simon's Chapter 2. I played George, and we kicked it up a notch. We made it dinner theater in the garage. We hired our friend TJ to cater the food, had the patrons eat at the tables in the basement, and then, after their delicious meal of spaghetti and meatballs or baked ham, they came into the garage and we did the play. I had my sister Robin waitress the event. I felt she needed to present a professional image, and she was wearing a Dan-skin Cassie from Chorus Line outfit and wearing a pair of Candies high heels. She had to schlep dinners and beverages from the kitchen upstairs down the 2 flights of my parents' split-foyer house in those high heels. Everybody seemed happy and enjoying the food, so I went to get ready for the show. I popped back in later only to find Robin, barefoot, scooping from a big pot of au gratin potatoes and hollering out to our guests, "Anybody want seconds?" I was mortified. Robin, can you follow me, please?" I escorted her out and scolded her for being unprofessional. "And for God's sake, Robin, get those high heels back on." "Tony, I don't want to wear them. My feet hurt." "Robin, you have desserts to get out. Get those high heels back on, please." She did, and the show went on, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. What chutzpah! Where did I get off? How did I ever literally dive in and do all those things that year, or frankly, any other time I broke through a barrier? Back to the digitized home movies. The year is now 1975. It's my 12th birthday, and I am opening presents. I was at that awkward age before getting tall, my pudgy round face not helped by the bowl haircut parted on one side. To make matters worse, my pudgy body was stuffed into a leisure suit. Leisure suits were a polyester version of, I don't know the equivalent of something today. They were so hideous they never came back, thank God. The whole thing was basically made from petroleum byproducts, and it was yellow. Not lemon yellow, but bile yellow. The ensemble was topped off with suede, blue and tan saddle shoes that had a slight heel on them, the heels made up of alternating blue stripes. And watching my behavior on that video, well, it makes me cringe. Waving to the camera, begging for attention, no thought that the outfit was attention-getting enough. I had my class photo taken in that outfit that year. I remember my mom saying, "Tony, you never wear your leisure suit." And out of guilt, I wore it to junior high one day and had one of the worst, most tormented days ever at school. A couple of years later, I shot up 2 feet in a summer and my proportions evened out from pumpkin-esque to Midwest Malibu Ken. There's a photo of me in a Speedo in college, and instead of saying, "Wow, I looked pretty damn good. Hell, I was hot," I'd see that pudgy kid in the yellow leisure suit staring back at me. I realize my adult life has been gaining and shedding the same 10 pounds. But that's the way it was. That's the way I was. And by God, I got through difficulties then. I will get through them now. So, I doubled down on my 13 Heads of Hair musical efforts. I knock out a couple more of these podcasts. Hell, why not make an online series out of them? And then there's this idea I have for a really dysfunctional family play. To quote Noel Coward, get on with it. And as far as Little Leisure Suit Tony, yep, that was me. He was there, and he will probably still always be somewhere inside of me. I watched that video again. He was a sweet kid. It's okay, Little Leisure Suit Tony. I'm grown up and I'm older, and you can come along for the ride. You won't get slammed up against a junior high school locker while I'm around. Back to terrified diving board Tony. Suzanne has completely lost her patience, and I stop her. I motion to the other kids to back off. I take a deep breath and then run to the end of the diving board and leap. And it is wonderful. LOL take 2. LOL take 2. LOL take 2.